Welcome back, everyone, to Foundations for Life with Barry Phillips and Mike Clayton. After taking a week off for Sukkot, because Barry was somewhere, Barry, I'm just not really sure about this. You had Sukkot at a place called Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, yeah. It was a name given by early colonial era explorers standing up, evidently up on the top and looking out and see that the ridge line, crest line of the mountains. Someone remarked it looks like the devil's backbone, and there is a mountain. When you look at the side of it, it's got 3 or 4 ridges that are inverted. It looks like instead of being rib cage going out, it looks like a rib cage going in.
Okay.
And that's pretty interesting. A gorgeous area, though.
Oh yeah, but it's just interesting that somebody would think that they knew what the Devil's Backbone looked like. I did, So okay, that's beside the point. All right, here we are. We're starting another Torah cycle, and we're in Bereshit, beginning with the letter Beit, which is of course the house, and everything that's flowing out of the house will one day flow back into the house. Speaking of houses, in order to set this up of where we want to go today, is kind of a reminder of a bumper sticker that I saw years ago, and I'm going to give you the bumper sticker in just a moment. After I take an opportunity to ask a throw Barry Phillips under the bus question.
Oh.
How's that for a start? Okay,
make the tire tracks.
Have you ever been sitting in your recliner when all of a sudden you heard Laura's car pull into the driveway and got up and started doing something so that when she walked in the house, you would look busy?
No.
Don't. Okay, let's go over to Exodus chapter 20 here. Do not bear false witness.
Yeah. Well, the tire tracks just ran over me and left. You'll remember this, Mike. Snow tread tracks across.
Okay. So we've all done that. Okay, all the guys out there, children, you've done that. And here's the bumper sticker that I want to go to. A number of years I saw a bumper sticker that says, "Jesus is coming. Look busy."
Busy, yes.
Yeah. Is it enough in our day, Barry, just to look busy? To all of a sudden wake up into 2020, or it's the beginning of an election, all these kind of things, and just say, just in case something happens in the world, I need to look busy in a religious sense.
We just talked about this verse recently, Mike. When Messiah returns, will he find belief?
Yes. Will he find faith upon the earth? Luke 18:8.
Last night I was powerfully impacted by Matthew 7 and 1 Corinthians 3. Matthew 7, I think in verse 21 and following, Yeshua describes how that there will be those that will knock at the door of the kingdom. Master, Adonai, open to us. And he will say, I don't know you. And they will describe the powerful works. Basically, they're describing works that we would say are under the anointing, casting out demons and healing, and etc. And he said, depart from me, you workers of lawlessness, I don't know you. We've taken the word lawlessness and understood it to be Torahlessness.
Yeah, that's that word law there is not talking about the United States Constitution.
No.
It's talking about declarations of the United Nations. The only context of that word could be you who do violence to my Torah. Go ahead.
Well, if you go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, speaks of the man of lawlessness,
Mm-hmm.
the man who does violence, as you say, to the Torah. This anti-Messiah figure or system or both that rise up in the last days stand against the Torah. Evidently, there are those that are in more partnership with that than they realize. But in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, this is the verse that really bugged me.
Okay, let me add and interject one thing here before you go on with that verse. I know where
Okay.
you're going. When we say last days, okay, if this is not talking about, like the last month prior to Messiah's return, the last days were declared in the apostolic writings at the time of the resurrection of Messiah, in that day. So if we look at the 7 years of creation as revealed to us in Bereshit, Genesis, and then we consider he would have been the death, resurrection, all that is on the 4th day. Then we have the 5th day, the 6th day, the 7th day. So we could actually kind of look at it as that Messiah's death and resurrection was on hump day. Okay. So we've crossed over into the 6th, 5th, 6th, and 7th day, which is the last days. So we're not just talking about a little tiny time period, but as far as the scripture is concerned, everything that happens after his resurrection is called last days. Okay,
including the day that we're in now.
What?
Including today. We're in the last days now.
Yeah, we are. We're in that last day period. Okay, go ahead with I just want to kind of clarify that.
Okay. In 1 Corinthians 3, beginning along verse 12, Rachel starts describing those who have works. Some are able to endure a test of fire. Others are consumed by it.
Mm-hmm.
So he describes as gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, and straw. When you take gold, silver, and precious stones and put them through the fire, they're refined, purified, cleansed, and they endure. Wood, hay, and straw, or in what King James says stubble, obviously they go up in smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing 3 classes of folks who do works. Folks who are trying to look busy. As your bumper sticker says, they're doing things. These are not inactive people. These are not those that are just going and sitting on a seat somewhere and going home. They're active. There are those that are active doing powerful works, casting out demons and healing the sick. And Yeshua says, I don't know you. Then there are those who have works, but they go up in smoke and they don't endure. They don't survive the test. He says, each one's work shall be revealed, for the day shall show it up. And then he says in verse 14, if anyone's work remains, he is built on, he shall receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, but as through fire.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to it, Mike, I don't want Yeshua looking at me and saying, I don't even know your name.
Yeah,
I don't know you. We don't have the relationship you think we have. Neither do I want to show up with nothing to show for what we've lived through, what we've endured through, what we've tried to produce. I've got these ministerial attempts at doing things online and live and in person, and with my congregation and my family, etc. And I don't want those things to have no quality or no evidence to show. I want, when the fire has burned, when the test is finished, to have something that is worthy of reward to offer at that moment. So my question is, how do we do what endures? What is it that endures? And if the kingdom's coming, we better hurry if we're going to do something. Now, I don't want anyone to panic, and I'm not trying to be critical of what we're doing, but one of the things that comes to my mind is we need to check our motivations. Why am I doing what I'm doing? I may be doing quality work, but if I'm only trying to achieve a name for myself, if I'm looking for some, even though I say all honor and glory go to the Messiah, if in my heart I'm retaining a secret motivation of, I want people to know my name and pat me on the back and give me some applause.
You know, and here's a key to this. We all desire affirmation.
Certainly.
It is part of the human makeup to receive affirmation. You know, none of us want to do something and then, I mean, you put your life into something and then nobody even notices what's going on. We're called to, in our makeup, affirmation. A religious response, though, to affirmation maybe is part of the problem, is that we've been taught that we should not receive any glory of anything. So somebody does like a good deed, they do a song, and it's just outstanding, or a message or something, puts on a conference, whatever it is. And I have walked up to so many people and said, yeah, you did a great job. And oh no, it wasn't me. It was God. It was the Father. He did it all. No, that's not true. He may have put the seed in you to bring forth this, but it's kind of like looking out at a field of grain and thinking it's going to, you're going to have bread the next day. No, it's this cooperation thing between man and Elohim that he put into place at the beginning of time. And so receiving a compliment of something that we have accomplished through his power is something most people don't know how to do. It's a false level of humility. It actually, we can go into all kinds of things I don't want to go to really. But, just when somebody says to you, Barry, you did a great job last Shabbat. Thank you. We don't have to have some religious response to this. We don't have to have some kind of a craziness there. Just thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. And we should be willing and ready at all times to give compliments and affirmation to other people like that. Okay. With that being said, we're starting this week another Torah cycle. I just got off with Hanok, recording with him, and I asked him, what is about the Torah cycle? What do you look at as a traditional believing Jew living in Modi'in? And he says, it's an opportunity to look at the scripture as if I've never looked at it before. That's quite a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wish you could look at scripture and like open it up like you've never read it before?
I oftentimes go to it to read and see what I haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the ability to say, I've never saw it that way before. A different angle, a different perspective. I'm familiar with the words.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like it's like hearing historical facts and so forth. I know that story. I know that story. But then someone throws a different thought or angle into it. It's like, wait a minute. Go back and say that again. You and I do that quite a bit at times. We'll say things basically offhand, not really realizing that there's some significance to it, and then our brains jump.
Yeah, because all of a sudden something comes out. So is it possible that in going back to Bereshit 1, that this is probably one of the most familiar Torah portions to all of us? So the tendency is to scan over it almost to the point of speed reading, just kind of glancing at a word here and there because I've already read it. And in doing so, missing the point. So I'm getting somewhere with this. I know I'm going a lot of different places trying to get there. What you're talking about of Matthew chapter 7, what you're talking about in Corinthians and various places, is the answer so simple that we've missed it in scanning over it?
Yeah.
That the answer was right there in the beginning all the time. And it's this: Elohim blessed them. Elohim said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, take dominion over it. Is it just that simple that is what we were to do? So with that as a backdrop, or a foundation, I guess I'd rather say a foundation to the verses you quoted of Matthew chapter 7 and also in Corinthians, is the standard for our work fruitfulness. Is it possible to be busy but have no fruit?
Yes, it is. I'll relate a quick story on that. I had a job started in the early 2000s, and I took the job knowing that it wasn't the paycheck that was the primary objective. I really believe that the Father sent me to that particular job to build a relationship with the employer and help them to get reattached to their roots. The owner was a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Lost that awareness, and for a period of time, number of years actually, that was being accomplished. There were changes I saw in their lives and their life and their behavior. They had a very difficult home situation. I learned a lot about the arena of the employment and what I was working in doing retail sales. So it was mutually beneficial. Toward the end of this time period of 10 years that I was working there, somewhere around year 8, I'm on my back deck crying out to the Father in prayer. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be praying for. So I pray about everything I can think of. And I'm basically searching in prayer. I know that there is a subject that I need to get to. I just don't know what it is. And so I'm praying a feeling prayer. You're feeling through a dark room trying to find the switch. And I cry out to him and say, Father, I am tired of not bearing fruit.
Yeah.
I am planting seed and nothing is happening. And Mike, almost instantly, I hear a response from him, then sow your seed in better ground. I had this sudden awareness of, I'm busy. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. but I have worn this tract of ground out because it's no longer bearing fruit. I went another 2 years trying to find the way to make that exit without destroying the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, I knew that it was absolutely the time. Matter of fact, I left 10 years to the day. I still have the relationship.
Yeah.
So I was successful in doing that. But out of that, I started sowing seed online and finding ways through internet radio or videos or whatever else that I'm trying to do. And that's bearing fruit. Whereas where I was before, that ground no longer had the productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Bearing fruit, you have to learn to be sensitive to what ground am I sowing in? You know, I had my first year of gardening experience since I was a kid. I just really have never had time to deal with the garden. And I learned about tobacco hornworms. Mike, I went out, I still had a pepper plant and a tomato plant. And I looked at some peppers that were on the vine or on the plant, and there was a great big hole in them. And I got to looking, and I found 3 tobacco hornworms on that plant. The thing was shot. I just pulled the plant up and killed the worms. And when I pulled up that tomato plant because it was shot, I found a couple on that one as well. So now I've got to figure out how to get the eggs that are in that soil, evidently. I need to treat the soil. I need to rebuild my soil because the soil it was disappointing. I didn't get the fruit and the fruit bearing from that soil. It's good soil. It needs to be worked. And I've gotten some information, and I know there's some layering I need to do, and there's some cleansing I need to do. Because next spring, when I plant tomato plants, I want tomatoes off of that thing. There are times that pastors or congregational leaders have done all that they can do for a particular group. And God may move them on to another group that they can help. I've also seen where certain teachers teach at a certain level. And when they've exhausted that level, sometimes it's hard to let go and allow someone to come in and take the congregation or the people to another level without feeling jealous or feeling competition. I think it's important for us as teachers, preachers, prophets, whatever function we have, to know where our level is, where our productivity is, and find the places that we can be effective. If I'm going to lead House of David beyond where they are, then I've got to go beyond where I am.
Okay.
I can't stay at my current level and take them higher. So I've got to grow. I see your wheels turning.
What happens when you come to a realization that no matter what I do, no matter what I change, the ground that I'm planting in is not fertile? The ground, the people, let me just put it pretty plain. The people that I'm sowing into are refusing to grow, are refusing to take the seed and bear more seed. What happens when you come to that realization? Okay, and I'm going somewhere with this. I want to ask a question that maybe people will not appreciate the question.
That's never stopped you before.
I appreciate that. But see, in order for us to become more fruitful, we have to be willing to ask questions that others will not ask.
True.
Is the Messianic movement as a whole soil that is bearing fruit? Or has it become sterile ground?
Yeshua described 4 different kinds of soil, and I think we have some of all of that. We have pockets
Okay.
that are fruit bearing, pockets that are rocky, thorny, choked with weeds. As you're describing that, Mike, what immediately comes to mind is the text, and I forget which prophet it is that mentions it, but about breaking up your fallow or unplowed ground. I was in a recent conversation, and we were talking about the amongst some leadership, and we were talking about the fact that there's coming a panic when people realize that the rapture is not happening as we have been taught.
You think?
And people who are not prepared for last days events will, they may blame their pastor, they may get angry at him, they may flee their system of worship and whatever. They make some very panicked decisions. And I said, we have to be ready to help those folks. And the response that I got from a very esteemed leader was, what we're seeing is those people you may not be able to help because they're angry, they're rejecting, they throw up their hands, and they won't believe anything because they don't trust anything. They believe that they've been lied to an extent that they're not willing to trust. He said, but there's a group called the pre-believers. They're not believers yet. But the intensity of the days that are close to us are going to be such that they will start looking for answers and they will be willing to receive an answer. That's the group that we need to be prepared for. That currently is fallow ground. It's unplowed.
Okay.
So in order to be fruit bearing, to have works that endure, it may be that we're looking at the wrong crowd. Hebraic roots, whether we admit it or not, what we've done is built our congregation on those that we've gleaned from somebody else's congregation.
Mm-hmm.
People have gotten fed up on their pews or whatever, and they've come looking for something. That's legit. There have been some that have gone back in and tried to entice previous friends and peers off of their pews. You need to come study with us because we're smarter, we're learning more, and this is real truth than what you're getting. And they start throwing off on whatever that congregation, that church has been teaching. That's not legit. That's wood, hay, and stubble.
Okay. So are you talking about the people that the scripture kind of calls the highway byway people? Those that, that nobody else is really looking at today? People that's out there in the middle of nowhere. They don't look religious. They don't have they're not going anywhere. They're just kind of out there in the mix. Maybe those are the people that's where the fruit will be for our lives.
There are a number of cities that are experiencing the angry mobs.
Yeah.
And there may be some that will look at them and say, but that's not who I am. I'm not the religious guy, but that's not me either. And they may feel, if I don't want to end up like those breaking windows in stores and chanting and firebombing, I need to push myself away from that. Of course, there are going to be the vigilantes who are going to want to go and put those mobs in their place. And I do believe that there's coming a war in our streets. That's going to be a hard time, but it's going to stir up those who are going to understand. I can't count on nostalgic, sentimental, old America to come back where it's safe to go to the grocery store. I need to figure out where my life is going, and these days are going to push me into that. We need to be ready to give them. When those folks come looking, you can't choke them to death with all your Torah knowledge.
Well,
We need to figure out what our message is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. And we're running out of time here, but it's like this. Are we looking for people that are looking for answers, or are we communicating with people that are looking for answers, or are we communicating with people that are looking for arguments? Yesterday, give you a quick example. Yesterday, I was just looking through, kind of doing the Facebook scroll thing, and someone asked, what do you think heaven's going to? And so usually I would not get in the mix of that.
Repeat that question, Mike. Repeat that. You kind of froze up digitally there. Repeat that question.
The question is, what is heaven going to be like?
Okay.
And so I said, I posted back, I said, heaven, question mark. Take a look at Psalm 115, verse 16. And so I didn't give the verse, I just gave the reference. Well, it started a communication with, end up being 3 or 4 people that got involved in these posts. And it was refreshing that there was people there that were trying to figure out truth. They were learning. They were, wow, I haven't thought of it that way before. I need to go study this. I need to look at this. And it was like, wow, that was really unusual, because normally you'd have somebody come in the mix and start arguing about something.
Yeah.
And then then here you go. May these times that we, may the times increase, that we find more people looking for answers than looking for arguments.
So, in wrapping this up, to answer our initial and original question.
We had one.
Well, the goal, I think, what we're trying to figure out is how, or what is it that I should do, or we should be doing, that has enduring fruit, that survives the test of it. When I see that where I've made an investment in someone's life, and they have in turn invested in other people's lives, and they're walking uprightly, to me, that's enduring fruit. Where I've invested in folks that are wishy-washy, in and out, never stable, and more of a cause of trouble than help, you kind of wonder, Father, where's this fruit going?
Yeah.
I can't rest on the laurels of whatever has been accomplished. I need continual sowing so I can continually reap. The lives that you're just describing to me would appear as gold, silver, and precious stones. Tender hearts, looking for truth, looking for answers, looking for help. And if we can respond with the compassion of Yeshua and teach them, more than he taught, more than he healed, more than he did miracles, Yeshua taught the people. His primary role was teaching and giving to the masses hours and hours of information and help, trying to instruct them. So among those, he pulled out 12 that he instructed at a deeper level. So I guess the answer to my question, Mike, is we need a group that we can teach deep and profoundly, as much as we have ourselves gained, but we must be willing to share the message of the kingdom to whoever and whenever it's available. You're going to reap different levels of fruit. And you got to keep your ground fertile. You got to keep looking for the places that need to be broke up, places that's got good soil, and sow there. Otherwise, the one who speaks to the same crowd who gives them applause on a regular basis may not be bearing fruit.
May that be what?
They may not be bearing any fruit. Picture the individual standing before a large crowd in a building on a regular basis, and people hang on every word that they say because of their personality and because of their level of ministry. And whether you're in the building or whether you're watching on TV or on video, and it's constantly, oh, that's another good word. They may or may not be bearing good fruit. They may. But we can't do it for that purpose. The goal is not to cram, see how many people we can cram in a building. It can't be. Or how many books or videos that we can sell. Or how many people we can get as subscribers to our website channels. It has to be that you grow people to love Messiah and love him with all their being.
One of the misconceptions has been that numbers equal fruit. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It's not about numbers. In fact, that's what David got in trouble for, counting the people. I posted something on Facebook I'm going to close with, Barry, a few days ago. It says, in order to go somewhere, you have to move on from people who aren't. And let me just paraphrase that a little bit. In order to bear fruit, you might have to move on from people who aren't bearing fruit. Just thought.
Last thought on my side is we're not asking folks to get up and run from where they are and abandon their congregations, unless Yah really tells you to do so. But if he's been telling you, you got to grow. You got to put your roots where they have the opportunity to grow.
Ask the hard questions as we start this year. Ask the hard questions.
Absolutely.
Am I bearing fruit? And if not, what do I need to do so?
Folks, thank you for joining Foundations for Life. We'll see you again next week. Until then, shalom.
Shalom, Barry.